homeschooling, curriculum, books, Islamic education, math manipulatives. Let's talk about homeschooling resources. In particular, my favourites from the past academic year. Assalamu alaikum, welcome everybody. So whether you are homeschooling right now or you just want to do more with your children at home, I think you're really going to enjoy today's live session. I'm going to walk you through all the different things that I've been enjoying with the kids. Now, my kids are aged 2 to 12. So whatever age your kids are, I hope that you'll be able to take something from today's live broadcast. So I haven't done one of these for a while, but if you can hear me and see me okay, let me know in the comments. Walaikum assalam. Hey from Texas, amazing. Okay, so guys on Facebook, if you can just let me know if you can see me and hear me okay, I will get cracking. I want this to be a really fun session for us because homeschooling can be so heavy. It can be so serious because it is serious. We are educating our kids. We are doing something really important, taking full responsibility for the education of our children. So sometimes it gets a bit heavy. But today I want it to be fun. I want to have fun together. So grab your headphones if you don't have them already. Get yourself something delicious to drink. A snack never goes wrong, get yourself something to eat, get comfy, and let's chat about the thing that homeschool moms love to chat about: homeschooling resources, curriculum, books, all the things. Let's have a chat. I'm going to share with you what we've been loving this academic year. In the chat, I would love for you to also tell us what you have been enjoying this year in your homeschool. So as I talk about what we've been using, if you've tried those things and enjoyed them, let us know. If you've tried them and you've not enjoyed them, that's okay. Let us know as well. I want to hear from you all. I'd love to get to know you all a little bit better. So this is going to be a relaxed discussion. And I hope we have some fun. So while you're here, while people are hopping on, quickly just tell me in the comments where you are joining us from. Ariba says salam from Pakistan. Walaikum salam. We've had somebody from Texas join us, which is awesome. So wherever you're from, pop it in the comments and say hello. I have done my best to collect all the links for the stuff I'm going to talk about today. If you're watching on Facebook, I've tried to put the links with this video. So I know you're furiously on Facebook going to have all the tabs open on your laptop and going in between this video and that. And I know that you want to do that. That's so much fun to do it. On Instagram, I can't share the links, but what I will do afterwards, I'll go into my story and I will share the links in the stories so you can get those direct links if you want to check anything out. And I'll do my best to everyone who is listening to this on the podcast as a replay to explain everything as we go along. We've got somebody from Buffalo in New York. That mean New York, NY, Michigan, Holland, mashallah, Qatar, Virginia, UAE, Essex, India, Luton, Birmingham. Oh, amazing. I love that we have such a worldwide audience here. It's so exciting. Okay, so let's get on with this. I would love to share with you, starting from my youngest child, all the way through to the eldest, who's 12, and some of the stuff we've been enjoying collectively as a family. So let's talk about my youngest. So my toddler is 2 years old. And like all toddlers, he likes to get into things. He likes to cause chaos, especially during the homeschooling morning. And something that we have used with him almost every day and that he really loves are his paint sticks. Where have I put them? Oh, here we go. Live TV, hey? Live broadcast. So here are his paint sticks. If you have tried these with your kids, let us know in the comments. These are paint as a stick. So I can leave him with these and be pretty sure that he is not going to cause too much mess. They're the right size for him to hold and grip. He feels like he's taking part in what we're doing because he's got his own little pen. And it helps to develop his fine motor skills. It helps to develop his habit of attention, which is a big thing in the Charlotte Mason method. And he just gets to join in, which is so nice for him. So he uses these on colouring books, on old cardboard boxes, like when we're doing junk modelling. If you have been through my Foundation to Flourish workshop. You know I talk a little bit about junk modelling in that. So he uses them to decorate the models he makes. He uses them in old maths workbooks that the kids are finished with. We give them to him. He feels like he's got his own workbook and he's happy. So these are great because they're really bright colours, easy for him to hold, minimal mess, and they wash out easily. So paint sticks. I never had them with the other kids. I don't know if that's a new thing, paint sticks, but I'm loving them. What else have I put? Okay, so let's move on to my 7-year-old. So when kids become 7, for us anyway, things start to get more serious in our homeschool. And we start to really, it goes up a gear. So for my 7-year-old daughter, we have been using math manipulatives. Prior to that, she did very little maths, but now we've been really enjoying math manipulatives. And the reason why, and I'm going to show you what we use for maths, but the reason why using a manipulative like blocks or counters or whatever it is really helpful is it takes maths from a very abstract to something very physical, something that a young mind can understand. It's tangible. So when you look at a workbook and it says 2 + 2 = 4, that means very little to a young child unless they can physically understand that, if they get their 2 rods, 2 of these plus 2 of these is 4. And the problem that we have if we're just using workbooks is that children don't learn to connect those two worlds, to connect that abstract, which is what maths teaches through workbooks, to connect the abstract to real life. And I think most kids can manage, they'll manage through, but then they will hit a point, usually in secondary school, where their math starts to suffer. They start to really struggle because they haven't understood the language behind maths. They haven't understood the reality of what it's all about. So we use math manipulatives, especially with the younger kids. And this is something that is talked about in Charlotte Mason philosophy. It's talked about with Montessori. A lot of the literature, a lot of people heavily involved in education, particularly maths, recommend manipulatives. So we use these counting rods, I think they're called. And these are very simple, easy to handle. And we just literally will use these to physically represent the maths problem that my daughter is working through. So it's taking it from a very abstract concept to something very tangible and meaningful to her. And the nice thing about this particular set is that it has the numbers here. So we can put it out, as we could do 2 + 2 with our rods. And then we can write 2 + 2 with the actual numbers next to it. And then she can write that in her workbook. And by doing it that way, it makes math meaningful. It means something to her. Now, you don't have to buy counting rods. Is that what I call them? Yes, counting rods. You don't have to buy counting rods. You can use anything as a manipulative. If you've been following me on Instagram or Facebook, sometimes we go out into the garden, we use pebbles, we pick flowers. The other day we used buttercups as our math manipulative, and my daughter was practicing, I think it was her 2 times table using buttercups. It's a really valuable way to teach maths and make it interesting, make it meaningful. Another math manipulative that we have used for all the children are these Math Link cubes, I think they're called. Math Link cubes. So they are little cubes and you link them together and there is 10 of each colour. So those have been fantastic when she's dealing with larger numbers. We use them for patterns as well, times tables, and again, simple addition and subtraction. So those are Math Link cubes. If you're just joining me, I am going to share all the links for these products in my stories later on. And if you're watching the replay, those links are already with the show notes. Okay, so that is my math manipulative for her. Something that we also really up a gear, we really go for when she's 7, for all the children, is their Quran. Prior to 7, the way we approach Quran is mainly just almost passively. She hears the Quran, she sees the rest of the family reading Quran. She understands that it's an important and integral part of life, of being a Muslim, of being a part of our family. But it's not till she becomes 7 that we really encourage her and make a time in our homeschool to teach Quran. So, where have I put it? So for those of you who are not familiar, before most children start reading the actual Mus'haf, the actual Quran, they start with a qaida. This is the qaida that we are using. This is by Muslim Education and Literary Services. And the reason that we chose this one is basically because a number of teachers who I know, who I trust, who have a far more vast, deeper knowledge of Quran, how to teach it, recommended this one. So this has been recommended to me by, teachers of sacred knowledge. So this was by the Muslim Education and Literary Services. You can get this in Uthmani and the Indo-Pak script, so whichever you prefer. This is the Uthmani one. So if you're not familiar with this, it takes you from reading the individual letters of the Arabic language to joining them, and then through some of the rules of tajweed to a point where your son or daughter can then pick up the Mus'haf, pick up the Quran and start reading. I used this one with my two eldest boys. As you can see, it's looking a little bit battered, and now my daughter has it. Alhamdulillah. So for those of you who are looking for a good qaida, I would recommend this. If you can't get hold of this one, then another one that is recommended is the one by Suffer Publications. You can look into that as well. I can hear you all through the internet, Googling it, opening all the tabs up and trying to find that on Google and Amazon. I will put the links for all of this later on. I'm just going to have a sip of my drink and have a look through the comments. Oh, walaikum salam, Misbah, Shireen. I'm so glad you're here. MashaAllah. Salam from Holland. Walaikum salam. Oh, mashallah, South Africa, Nigeria, Canada. I am absolutely blown away. What an honor to have you all here. Alhamdulillah. Okay. And also, as we're going through, if you have questions, pop them in the comments. I apologize, Instagram, for this light. The sun has come out. But if you have comments, if you have questions, pop them down in the chat. And if there's time, I will try and answer some of them. Right. And also for my daughter, before we move on from her, I have got a blog post about the way we teach maths with her. We incorporate a number of different things. We use an online program called Math Seeds. We use a workbook. We use the manipulatives also as part of how Charlotte Mason approached maths. So we use the Charlotte Mason approach as well. And the reason that I fuse all of them together is because I am still learning about how to approach maths from the Charlotte Mason philosophy. And obviously she needs to keep progressing in that. So while I learn, I bring in bits and pieces into her education. And inshallah, one day it'll all be the Charlotte Mason philosophy for her. But right now we have an eclectic mix of things. Okay, right, let's move on to my son. So my 9-year-old, actually he's 10 now, mashallah, 10-year-old son. What he has really enjoyed this year are his drumming lessons. He plays the duff and he sings, mashallah. He is a boy who, he moves a lot. He's always doing something with his hands. Rubik's Cubes, those fidget toys. He moves. And drumming it suits him so well, mashallah. He can play with his hands, he can play with his feet, mashallah. He can sing at the same time. He's just, mashallah, he loves it. And the teacher that we found for him for that is from Pearls of Islam. So Pearls of Islam are a duo, a sister duo, and they have, they professionally produce nasheeds and they sing and they drum, and they also do classes for children. They also do classes for sisters. So if you are looking to incorporate music in a halal, in a beautiful way, I would really recommend it. It is the most beautiful thing to hear your son or your daughter singing about Allah, singing praise of the Prophet, peace be upon him, for joy, for their own enjoyment, and it's a beautiful thing. And through his learning, through the Pearls of Islam, we have started bringing that into our own morning basket. We sing together now as a family and he leads on the drum. It's a beautiful thing. So I would really recommend those two sisters. So that's Pearls of Islam. You can find them on Instagram. Now, I want to go through some of the books that the kids have been enjoying reading independently. So these are for my kids who are 7 through to 12. If your kids play drum or they sing or do anything like that, let me know in the comments and how you're teaching them. Oh, I also get comments as well, where do I buy the duff from? They sell them on Amazon. I mean, subhanAllah, Amazon does everything. So you can find them on Amazon if you search for them. Okay, so the books that we've been enjoying, these are books that the kids read independently. They are ages 7 through to 12. So if you have a child whose reading age is somewhere in there, they might enjoy these books. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of each of them, but I think that they have something to offer, any child within that age range. So the first book I want to mention is The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. All three of my children, the ones who I'm homeschooling, have loved this. They've absolutely loved this. Have your kids read this as well? It's beautiful. I'll tell you what it's about, and you're going to think it sounds very strange. It's about a robot who gets shipwrecked on a deserted island and ends up fostering a goose and raising this goose. And it's beautiful. It's about, it deals with a lot of emotional issues, like being abandoned, like feeling lost, like feeling like you don't belong, about motherhood, and there's a lot of animals in there as well. So if your children like animals, they're sure to enjoy it. It's an adventure. I'll show you inside so you can get an idea. There's a few pictures. It's not too heavy on the text. Sorry, Instagram. There we go. And I mean, it's won loads of awards. It is very, very popular. So that's The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. If your children have passed through easy readers, they're starting on chapter books, this is probably the next step. Once they've read a few easy chapter books, this would be a great one to go to next. The chapters are very short, sometimes only 2 or 3 pages. It's a lovely, lovely book. And just check these comments. Yes, so somebody's asked, will I pin them or share the links? I am going to share the links in my stories afterwards, inshallah. Right, the next books that my kids have been enjoying as independent reading are the Chronicles of Narnia. There are 7 books in the Chronicles of Narnia, and they are absolutely phenomenal. They are a classic children's literature. Again, an adventure and more of a fantasy adventure. But they do not, as I spoke to Ustada Mehded Mariam Sinclair, they do not mix reality with fantasy. They do not cross that bridge. It's very clear with the Chronicles of Narnia when you go into a made-up world and when the children are in reality. So I think they're fantastic. Now, something to be aware of with the Chronicles of Narnia is there is a lot of Christian symbolism. It's a Christian allegory. So what that means is that some of the stories, some of the characters in here are, you read them and you'll be like, oh, this sounds like the story of this prophet. This sounds like the story of this prophet, particularly with the last book. If anyone's read The Last Battle, you will know, you read this book and it feels like the author, C.S. Lewis, has been looking through the Quran and learning about the Day of Judgment. Things like how the sun comes close to the earth, things like the last blowing of the trumpet, things like that are in this book. So there is a lot of Christian symbolism. So that's something to look into. If you're not comfortable with that, then, fair enough, but look into it before you go into it. I did not have a problem with that at all for my children. It's not going to teach your children to become Christian. It's just that the stories feel very heavily influenced by the Old Testament. So something to bear in mind. And finally, the last book, the last author actually that I want to share with you is Linda Sue Park. I have heard about her from various homeschoolers, various other authors, and I decided to get these for my son. He absolutely fell in love with them. He absolutely fell in love, particularly with A Single Shard. This is a story of a 13-year-old boy called Min, who is from Korea. And he becomes an apprentice to a potter, making pottery, and he goes on an adventure. And it's a beautiful book. My son doesn't often fall in love with books, but this one he fell in love with. He didn't want it to end. And he did pick up this book, which is by the same author, A Long Walk to Water. And this is set in Sudan. Both are beautiful, both are highly acclaimed, and I would recommend them to you. I'll show you inside this one. Again, it's not hard, it's not too heavy, the text. And this one is a pretty short one, that's The Long Walk to Water. This one's a slightly thicker. So if you have kids anywhere between the ages of 7 and 12, they like adventure, check these out. Really, really phenomenal books. And again, these were written recently. This one was just written this year, or published this year, I should say. And this was not published that long ago as well. So the language is modern and very accessible. Okay. Do we have any questions or anything you want to add? Anybody's kids read those books and enjoyed them? Let me know. Walaikum salam, Saliha. Okay. Amira, mashallah. Is the print large in the Chronicles of Narnia? This one is not. It depends on the publisher. So this one is HarperCollins, and the text is not. It is small. It is small. But I think there has been one printed more recently that looks a bit nicer. I agree with you. Sometimes this kind of text, this very small text, is off-putting for children if they're not used to it. But the stories are so amazing that I think if they can get past the first chapter or two, it won't matter what the font is. But there is more. There is another publisher who has recently published them that might be worth looking into. Bella, I love listening to you. Glad I made it. Oh, I'm glad you're here, Bella. Okay. Right. Let's keep going. Right. I will have a look at these at the end. Right. So now I want to talk about what we've been enjoying collective. I'm sorry, Instagram, for this light. It's suddenly sunny. Okay, I want to talk about what we've been enjoying together as a family. So for the vast majority of the kids' schooling, we do things as a family collectively. It's the best way for them to learn, I think. They do their individual subjects, they do maths, they do reading by themselves, a little bit of spelling, obviously their Quran. But then collectively, we do a lot of things together. So these are a few of the favourites that we have enjoyed this academic year. So I'm going to start with this one. Yeah. This is called Rocks, Rivers and the Changing Earth. This is a book about geology. This is the epitome of a living book. So if you're not familiar with that term, a living book means a book that is rich, that is steeped in ideas, that makes the child's mind come alive, makes them think, inspires them. A living book is like the playground of the mind. Have you ever read a book like that where you were so inspired, you felt like you were underlining every other line, you wanted to read up on other things? That is a living book. So this is a living book, and that is what you should be giving to your children as much as possible. And the opposite of a living book is a textbook. And textbooks have their place, but the vast majority of your children's education should be, or try to make it, living books. So this, again, if we go back to this is about geology. So teaching children about the rocks, rivers and the changing earth. And we use this alongside another curriculum by Sabbath Mood Homeschool. Sabbath Mood Homeschool are a Charlotte Mason science curriculum producer. They're fantastic. Their curriculum are they will write it, they'll either have secular or Christian. So we of course took the secular one. So it works alongside this. So this book, if you can see, try and get on everyone's, there we go. So it teaches children about how rivers work, the mountains, erosion, all those beautiful things. It has experiments in it. It's written very, very beautifully. It's as if you're speaking directly to the child, which is really nice. If you wanted to, you could just buy this by itself. You do not need the curriculum that we got. What the curriculum does from Sabbath Mood Homeschool is it adds a little bit of an extra element. It brings in poetry every lesson. It brings in like extra resources to find online, videos, other online resources that you can use to supplement. And we've really enjoyed it, actually. We've really enjoyed using that curriculum, particularly the poetry, because I mean, honestly, I don't have time to hunt for loads of different poems about mountains and rocks and rivers and all of that. So it's lovely that it's all together. So we've enjoyed them both. But if you wanted to, you could just get this. along the same line of thought, 2 more living books that I want to share with you. This one, we just started it recently and I'm absolutely in love with it. I want to find out more from this author. It is called How Much and How Many by Jean Benedict. And this is a book that teaches children about measurement, but it's a living book. It's a beautiful vintage book. I think it's from the 70s, so not that long ago. And again, it's got experiments, it's got history, it brings in science, physics, maths. It's fantastic. It's just the right level for late primary, early secondary. A really lovely living book for science and maths, and even a little bit of history. It brings all of those together. It's beautiful. So I'm going to be looking up Jean Benedict to find more. It is available on Amazon, but I think you might have better luck looking for this somewhere like Abe Books, that deals with older vintage books. But you might find it on Amazon, and I have put the link with this Facebook video if you want to check that out. And another one on the same vein is Through the Magnifying Glass by Julius Schwartz. Again, this is a living book. This is science. It's got beautiful explanations about what you see when you look through a magnifying glass. It brings through lots of different disciplines. And I think this was published in the 50s, but things have not changed when you look through a magnifying glass from the 50s. I wish they made books like this now. I struggle to find beautiful books about science and maths that are living, but this is. So that again was Through the Magnifying Glass by Julius Schwartz. Okay, so those were the main things that I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions about what I've shared here, pop them in the comments now. I'm going to have a scroll through. I'm going to have a drink first. And if you enjoy this, hearing what I have to say about our homeschooling, I hope you will join me every week on my podcast. I have a podcast called Raising Mums, and that comes out every Thursday, sometimes Friday, but usually every Thursday. And I share all things homeschooling there. And so wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can tune in there, find Raising Mums, or if you're on YouTube, I do upload the audio as well onto YouTube. Inshallah, I will try and save this live. If I can remember how to do it, inshallah, I will do. What is the age range for the last book? Okay, Nadia, let me have a look. Yeah, again, I would say this is perfect for the age of my children. So the later primary, early secondary. So 7 to 12-ish. I mean, as a homeschooler, you know your children, you know what age level they're at. Maybe even slightly older kids would enjoy this as well. So I think, late primary, early secondary would be good. Any recommendations for year 8, 9 books for boys? Okay. I think at that age, you can start dipping into the classics if they enjoy reading, then you definitely can. Dickens is a good one to go to. Wilkie Collins, Sherlock Holmes, fantastic. Even Narnia, actually. Even Narnia would be suitable for that age. I think book recommendations, if you're not sure, go for something that you know they would be interested in. Maybe they've seen the movie, maybe their friends have read the book. Maybe get them to listen to the audiobook first before you introduce them to the actual physical book. Some kids actually like to listen and read at the same time if it's a particularly hard book. So you could try that, inshallah. I need resources for science experiments. You know what's great about these books, the ones I shared? They require very little. You don't need to go out and buy an expensive chemistry set. You don't need to go and buy expensive chemicals or, big fancy anything. They use things that you have in your home. So I really appreciate that about these books. Most of the time, this one particularly, it just says go and get some stones. When was it? Thursday, we did an experiment here where we got some pebbles out of the garden and put them in the oven. I won't explain why, but that was what we did. So that was our science experiment to demonstrate the concepts that we were learning. So they're very good in that sense. Excuse me. Okay, we have some things on Facebook. Yeah, so Saleha says, how can she make learning interesting for her pre-GCSE daughter who has her head in textbooks? Is it possible for her to read living books at this age? Yes, it is. Absolutely. So for science, is it science? You've not mentioned what subject she's doing, but if it was science, go to that website I mentioned, Sabbath Mood Homeschool. They have a collection, they have a book list according to the subject in science, and they will list out possible living books for that. But for you, Saleha, if she's in a textbook already, she might resist more books unless she's an avid reader. So is there a way that you can take what she's learning? You've said science, so take what she's learning and make it hands-on. You know, like when she's learning about the structure of an atom, get some modelling clay and make a structure of an atom with the modelling clay. When she's learning about a flower and how the anatomy of a flower, go to the supermarket, get some lilies. Lilies are great for this. And dissect that lily. Find all the different parts that she's learning about. You can even use a couple of 2 lilies and demonstrate pollination. Try and make it hands-on for her. And if she is open to living books, then do bring those in as well. The problem is if you just do textbooks, and you all know this from your own education, that if you just do textbooks, it's in one ear and out the other for the vast majority of it. We learn it for the exam and it's gone. It's just gone. It's meaningless. But if you can make it meaningful by either engaging our brain and our emotions using living books, or by using hands-on manipulatives in some way, it makes it more meaningful. They will remember it. Walaikum salam, Sabahat. Yeah. Okay, so Sabahat asked about Roald Dahl books. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so Roald Dahl books are... there's no blanket rule, in my opinion, on Roald Dahl books. Some of the Roald Dahl books are fine, and some of them are a little bit crude. They teach manners that I wouldn't be happy for my children to learn. So I think you have to judge each book separately and individually. I do not like the twits. I don't like... I forget the name. I think things like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was fine. Matilda was fine. There's one about witches. You may want to miss that one. Up to you. So you have to really judge each book individually with Roald Dahl. Okay. Okay, so Bella has asked, any books for beginner readers 6 to 8? So I'm assuming, Bella, that your son or daughter knows the basics of reading. Like they can read a sentence. So if they can read a sentence and they're okay with that and they're ready to move on to proper books, quote unquote, then we like, gosh, what are their names? They're detective books. What are they called, guys? Oh, you've caught me off guard, Bella. Okay, let me think about this and I will come back to you. Oh, I can see it in my head. What's it called? You know what, Bella? When I remember, I will come back onto Facebook and I will write it in the comments, inshallah. Have I heard about Wings of Fire? I don't know that one, Miss Bun. No, I'm sorry. Are you having any book study coming soon? Yeah, so if you're in Launch Your Homeschool, my online homeschooling course, we have the next book we're reading in our book club is... can't find it. It is called Children Around the Prophet. So we're going to be learning about that, about how the Prophet, peace be upon him, interacted with the children who grew up around him. So that's going to be the next book in our book club. I think we're going to be doing the meeting in August. So if you're not already joined Launch a Homeschool, you'll have a chance to join in July when we open enrollment, and you can join the book club then. Okay, I think we should probably wrap it up. I'll just double check. Yes, Sabina's asked, some of the older books are so hard to find and expensive on Amazon. Yeah, I would recommend Abe Books. abebooks.co.uk if you're in UK, abebooks.com. They are really good for the older books, vintage books, rarer books. And if you can't find it there straight away, just keep checking in every couple of months, and I'm sure you'll find it. That's where I get my vintage books from. Okay. Yeah, mashallah. So M for Moon has said, for Roald Dahl, we skip lines about alcohol and bad manners. We take the opportunity for critical thinking with the books like Fantastic Mr. Fox. Is he good or is he a criminal? That's perfect. Yeah, exactly. So these type of books, you can use them for conversations. You can, like you say, skip out lines. Boxcar Children. That's a lovely one. Yes. So who was it? Bella, you asked about books for 6 to 8 years old. Boxcar Children. I still haven't remembered the name of that detective book that I was thinking about. Okay. All right. So if you haven't already, if you are thinking about homeschooling and you have not already got yourself a copy of my ebook, Home Education, What You Need to Know to Get Started, go and get your free copy. It's going to lay out for you all the common questions that you have about homeschooling, legal things, how to record, you need to record, how to deal with authorities, curriculum, all the questions that you have, socialization. So get your copy of that free ebook, ourmuslimhomeschool.com/ebook. And when you sign up for that ebook, you also get access to our huge library. We have a library of hundreds of free educational resources for your children. You go to that library and you can choose between all kinds of things. And we have focused on making it specific to the Muslim child. So you'll find a lot of resources in there. If you want to teach your kids about Hajj, Ramadan, the 5 pillars, whatever it is, 99 names of Allah, you will find it all there categorized for you, and it's free. Alhamdulillah. So if you join, get your free ebook, ourmuslimhomeschool.com/ebook, and then get yourself into that library and find something to do with your children, inshallah. This was fun. I hope you guys had fun as well. It was lovely to see you all on here. I'll try and do some more of these, inshallah. I really enjoy connecting with you and doing these live sessions. So have a beautiful week, everybody. And inshallah, I'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum. Take care.